Misusing water's a disgrace. Moved to the city, rented a house on my way to buy a bed. Saw one lying on the side of the road, so I took that one instead. And also found a fridge, a couch, and a big old plasma screen. And the biggest pile of thrown out stuff that I had ever seen. But there's no such thing as waste. Oh no, only stuff in the wrong place. Yeah, that's right, there's no such thing as waste. That old landfill is a disgrace. Down the track, I found out that diesel cars can run on veggie fat. Bought a truck and hit the road, smelling like fish and chips. I rescued piles of wasted oil from the back of restaurants. I'd be a fool if I bought my fuel when there's oil nobody wants. 'Cause there's no such thing as waste, oh no, only stuff in the wrong place. Yeah, I said there's no such thing as waste. That old idea's gotta be replaced. Now we gotta refuse, reduce, reuse, repair, recycle. Refuse, reduce, reuse, repair, recycle. Now I get my things out of garbage bins and I compost every crumb. I save my seeds and eat my weeds and feed the leftovers to your mum. Gonna build a house from the rubbish tip, gonna keep this planet clean. Reuse ideas that have been around for years to live within its means. 'Cause there's no such thing as waste, oh no, only stuff in the wrong place. I said there's no such thing as waste, yeah, only opportunity to be embraced.
All right, I think everyone we're getting some good numbers in. I might just give it another 30 seconds and then we will kick off. I'm just putting a little message to everyone in the chat. Okay. All right, still getting some trickling in. Hello and welcome. I hope the song came through for you, everyone. We had a bit of a groove. All right, well, I think there'll be some last minute stragglers. They're always in, but I think we better go ahead and get started. So good afternoon to everyone joining us today in Australia and afar, and a very early good morning from the Netherlands, where I'm currently dialing in from. I hope you had a nice little boogie to one of my favorite waste songs, No Such Thing as Waste by the Formidable Vegetable. I hope it came through okay. There's been some funny stuff going on with my Google Meet. As always, that's just the way of webinars these days. If you haven't heard of the Formidable Vegetable, please do go and check them out. They've got some really great fun and exciting songs about sustainability. I love them. Well, so before we get started, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands from which we're all joining today. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and warmly welcome any Aboriginal or Indigenous friends who might be joining us here today. The Waste.Spot recognizes the many traditional landowners all around the world and the continued stewardship of our planet. So we pay our respect and offer our deepest gratitude. Now I'm just getting a little bit of a message. Someone is, there's some difficulties. All right. Hi there. It says viewers can't join chat. Sorry. Yes, that's right. Haley, thanks for your question. So you beat me to the punch. So I'll just go over a bit of a housekeeping. So viewers don't have access to the chat function. Unfortunately, Google doesn't have that feature yet, but you do have access to the Q&A section, and I'll be actively monitoring that myself during the presentation. So please make sure all of your questions are placed here, and be sure, if you can, to indicate for which panel member your question is for. You can also use it to ask the question for me if there's any issues. That's absolutely fine. So thanks, Haley, for bringing that to my attention. Now for the introduction. So my name is Caitlin Sockwell, and I'm your host for the session. I'm a physio by background whose passion for sustainability ultimately led to my career transition into local government. A special shout out to the city of Monash. And then ultimately made the very difficult decision to head off on a new adventure here in the Netherlands, where I'm blown away every day by the circular initiatives that I come across here. So I'm the proud founder of the Waste Not Spot, a women-owned circular sustainability consultancy based both in Australia and the Netherlands. And our aim is to make circularity a reality. And we do this by helping organizations transition to a circular economy through a variety of different services. So if you're interested in more information about us, head over to our website or socials, or you can subscribe to our new newsletter via this QR code. It's very tiny, so I don't know if it'll work, but have a go. And you can stay up to date with all things circular in the world. So I'll put some links in the chat shortly. But what we're all really here for is to listen to and be inspired by our wonderful panelists from around the world, representing Senegal, the USA, and Pakistan. So we'll hear from each panelist about their waste challenges and barriers in a local context, but also their solutions and their successes, and some advice for us all to take away and implement into our own local barriers that we're struggling with. So without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first speaker, John Michael Hulls Garcia. Let's go. There we go. Now, John has an amazing background behind him. So he's an academic in zero waste, and he's a business leader. He's the CEO and the co-founder of EnviroDynamics, which is a Florida-based corporation, and Sustainable Environmental Management Co., or SEMCO, based in California. He's got over 50 years experience. He's consulted with World Bank, the UN, the US Environmental Protection Agency, the Chemical Manufacturers Association, lots of different Fortune 500 businesses, and over 100 municipalities. So really a wealth of experience. He was a founding board member of the National Recycling Coalition in 1976, and was a co-founder of the California Resource Recovery Association in 1974. He has been an adjunct professor in earth sciences at Santa Monica College since 2012 and teaches recycling and resource management. He operated a recycling center and a business recycling program at CSU in the 1970s, and is currently engaged in the development of a circular economy enterprise that will see a world without wasting and an end to landfills. So an amazing breadth of experience. So I'll hand it over to John. You can pop your screen on, and you can take over the presentation screen sharing, and I will duck out.
All right. Well, first of all, Caitlin, can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, John.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any kind of sound coming back. So I'm going by the transcript, whatever is on the transcript, so I can see where we are. So I do apologize for that. I don't know what exactly happened. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, no, there seems to be going now. Great. Okay. All right, so my topic for today is transformative sustainable materials management in the United States. Obviously, the United States is the biggest consumer of materials in the world. And of course, I was mentioned before, I'm a board director of SWEEP, which is a solid waste environmental excellence performance standard. And that's going to be the principal areas that I will talk about today because it has both local as well as national implications. You already know who I am and my years of experience. I'm part of a mixed heritage. My mother was from Mexico, and my father was an Okie from Oklahoma. Came out during the Dust Bowl days in the 1930s out to California. And that in itself, there's a story there, and hopefully someday I'll be able to share that with you. But I wanted to tackle first three little things. What are the barriers and challenges of waste management that I've seen, and their implications, and what's a solution that we have or are implementing, and finally, what key barriers did we overcome and how? And I want to say that, first of all, in the United States, there is a serious lack of a sustainable materials management policy. And in fact, many different policies, energy, water, I could go on. But this has really led to a fragmented approach to waste management that still relies on our traditional take, make, discard, landfilling as the principal strategies to resource utilization. Take resources from other places and bring them to the United States and consume them and toss them in the ground. We probably have basically billions of tons of very wonderful material that is buried in the ground. So what's our solution? There are regulatory and sort of triple bottom line solutions. So the private sector as well as the public sector are working on things, but it's really hit and miss, and we really need a national strategy that I believe should be organically grown from the grassroots. And SWEEP can be that institutional solution by our focusing on communities first. We're kind of like building a strategy for sustainable materials management, zero waste, organically from the ground up, community by community, mind by mind, heart by heart. And we've overcome a few barriers, but still funding, support, and participation are three major key barriers that we have. And of course, we're working on that. About SWEEP itself, our mission is to transform the materials management industry, take it from waste management, make it resource management. And our SWEEP standard is actually kind of like LEED. And if you know anything about LEED, for buildings, it's like LEED for solid waste. So we're trying to develop a comprehensive national voluntary environmental performance standard so that the local governments and their vendors can support and develop and reward really sustainable best practices and policies. And the kind of things that we do offer is obviously there's independent third party verification of the triple bottom line aspects of solid waste programs and policies, a consistent set of metrics for performance benchmarking, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And we want to really serve as a roadmap for communities and their vendors to set up sustainability objectives to increase efficiency and improve data collection as well as quality. As a general background, SWEEP was developed by or founded by Rob Watson, who was the creator of the LEED Green Building Rating System. And in 2020, SWEEP Plus, that standard was approved for a pilot. And we used an ANSI-based standard to create the entire SWEEP universe, the SWEEP Plus standard. So at this point, we're the only comprehensive sustainability standard for the solid waste management industry in the United States. Now, when we talk about standards, it's obvious that there's a need for standardization. You can't manage what you don't measure, said Peter Drucker, the father of management thinking, I guess arguably the father. But we kind of look at it and say also that not only is it you can't manage what you measure, what you don't measure, you can't measure what you haven't defined. You have to really understand and define what it is that we're looking at and how to get there. So we've tried to develop this in a way that breaks down the entire solid waste management system in any community. Now, what do we actually cover? And when I talk about the different components, on this particular screenshot, everything right of the dashed line is what we cover. And everything on the left side is what we might consider to be upstream. We have another companion organization that we work with called TRUE, and that was developed out of the U.S. Green Building Council. And TRUE deals with businesses on a campus by campus or a site by site basis. But we're looking at it from the perspective of once it gets into their communities, into our cities, to the areas that people live and work, what happens with it? Where does it go? How is it handled? What are the policies that can be developed that can influence upstream how things are made, how they're designed, and so forth? Now, who's eligible to become SWEEP certified? Just like who's eligible to be a LEED building? Well, we have eligibility as well for SWEEP certification. Principally, local governments are our primary area or audience. Cities, counties, regional agencies, even universities and such. Secondly, we have material management companies. These are the companies that work as vendors for many of these municipalities. It could be haulers, it could be composters, anaerobic digesters. Even landfills can do a better job at what they do. And then we have other membership. For example, tech companies or consulting firms, nonprofits, and solid waste brokers. They can also participate in the program as well. What are some of the benefits for being a pilot? Because we're still in this pilot phase of developing this standard. You become a leader in materials management. You have the opportunity to create significant benchmarking of the information that you have. So if you want to go someplace, you got to know where you are and where you've been. And so that's very important to this whole process. And then, of course, we want to help people to prepare for a changing regulatory landscape. And I can tell you in the United States, the regulatory landscape is all over the board. You got states like California that are probably a little bit more advanced, and others that are a lot more, you might say, a little bit backward. In terms of the point background, in other words, like how do you get to certification, we have like 110 total points, 100 base points, 10 bonus points for innovation. But we have basically policies, sustainable materials management policies, waste generation and prevention, solid waste collection, post-collection recovery, and then post-collection disposal. So all those things are all involved in determining what type of certification level that you can achieve. And what are those certification levels? We have 4 basic ones. SWEEP certified. If you get half of the points, you could be SWEEP certified. SWEEP silver, you've done a better job. SWEEP gold, you're really on your way. And SWEEP platinum means that you are achieving a higher standard. We are working on an additional standard called SWEEP zero, which is very much akin to zero wasting, like greater than 90% recovery, less than 10% disposal. That will not have similar categories, but rather will be a pass-fail. In other words, you go through SWEEP Plus and you're one of these levels, then you have an opportunity to become SWEEP zero. But we haven't worked out all of the standard for that. We do have tools that we have developed and are in development right now, a certification manual, which we've been working very hard for the past 3 years on. We have with an organization called Retrack, we have various forms that people can online put in information. And that's what we use to go through and evaluate individual communities. Who are our pilots right now that we're working on? This slide shows some local governments that are participating in the program. Spokane, Washington is completed. We're working on some of these others as funding comes in for these communities. And then industry-wise, Mount Diablo Resource Recovery has achieved gold standard for SWEEP Plus. We've had a number of folks that have said a lot of wonderful things, and that's great. For example, somebody here said that the SWEEP certification helps to reinforce the confidence that the jurisdiction, people in the jurisdiction, place in us to operate business and also general operations in a way that's cost effective for ratepayers, while also fulfilling a public commitment to responsible, sustainable materials management. One thing I'd like to invite anybody to, even if you're not interested in SWEEP, is that we have a lot of webinars that are actually online at this particular URL, sweepstandard.org/sweep-webinars/ You can go in here, and this is just a sampling. There are dozens of various webinars that cover a multitude of different topics and information that you may have a lot of interest in, and take a look at that. Reducing landfill emissions, SB 1383, that's our organics law in California. Things like taking circularity national with one of our leaders in circularity in the United States. And then fostering, circular solutions. So we have a lot of different information that I would encourage you to take a look at. So that pretty much is it from my end, and I've left a few questions here. I happen to feel, I'll leave you with this, is that zero wasting is something that the United States has to do. As the largest consumers society on the planet, using anywhere from 30 to 50% of the world's resources, it is absolutely an imperative for peace and prosperity on the planet that the United States adopt sustainable materials management, zero wasting. So yeah, I totally agree with the first question I put up there, that zero wasting is a really good strategy. And in fact, it's almost, like I say, an imperative. But thank you very much. I will stop sharing. And if you have any questions, you're welcome.
Thank you, John. That was fantastic. I'm going to just resume my screen.
And again, I'm sorry, Caitlin, because I can't hear anything. Oh. I have to look at the transcript. Okay.
Well, we're lucky that we have that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, John. That was amazing. Those insights that you shared with us. What a great way to kick us off. Sorry, my cat's coming to say hello. I love the concept that you mentioned about changing waste management, the term waste management, into resource management. I think that really highlights, that there is no such thing as waste, just stuff in the wrong place. To quote today's theme song. I'm looking forward to getting to some of those other questions that you left up there as a bit of a teaser for the Q&A. Just a friendly reminder for any questions coming through, just to please write the name of the panelist your question is for. If it's a general question for all of our panelists, just write all. It just helps me later when we get to the Q&A function, so I know who to direct the questions to. All right, so our next panelist is actually not live with us here, but he is here in spirit. The time difference was a bit tricky to manage, but we wanted to make sure his story was still able to be shared. So Momar Babi is the coordinator of the Senegal Zero Waste Association located in Dakar. The environment has always been a passion for him as a geographic engineer by day. University is where it all began, where he began to make the important connection between his courses in geology and climatology to the relationship between humans and our environment. So His real turning point to transitioning to a life of fighting the waste crisis was after seeing a documentary on how it affects our environment and climate. And I think a lot of us can relate to that sort of thing. It only takes something small to change our path. So Momar, after that documentary, felt destined to do something about it and to help his community. And so he joined Senegal's Zero Waste Association in 2018. And since then, he's been committed to raising awareness and leading the fight to reduce waste in that community. So Momar is a geographic engineer and a specialist in territorial planning. He has experience as the head of strategy, analysis, and monitoring division at the Ministry of Development, Social, and Territorial Equity. Quite a mouthful. Um, he has also served as project evaluation supervisor with the Japanese Development Cooperation Agency, or JICA, in order to strengthen the health system in Senegal. So we've got a short video recording. It should be about 5 minutes long. And a word of advice, it is a bit quiet, so there is that closed captioning function. It should just be down on your icon menu with the little box with a CC in there. That might help to hear him a little bit better. Here we go.
Hello, how are you? It's a pleasure to attend this webinar with you to share background knowledge and experiences about my country, about zero waste. So it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm going to present myself. I'm Momar Babi, the coordinator of Zero Waste Senegal. Zero Waste Senegal is an environmental protection association that campaigns for the reduction and more sustainable management of waste in Senegal. You know, uh, in Senegal in 2019, plastic waste consists mostly of single-use plastic packaging that is part of the daily consumption of Senegalese people. Today, 5 million plastic bags are used every day and 7,000 tons of water bags are produced every day. The exponential production of plastic waste and the lack of waste management rank Senegal as the 21st most plastic polluting country in the world. The waste that is neither abandoned in the street nor incinerated end up in open air dumps, most of which are unauthorized. Mobile, the only official dump covering more than 100 hectares for the municipality of Dakar, the capital. From there, it is mostly incinerated, flies into the sea, or in the best of cases, remain in these mountains of waste in our dumps. Despite the efforts of the state to fight against plastic waste management generally, through the Zero Waste Program and the law number 2020 to ban single plastic use, which became effective in 2020, the production of plastic waste continues to increase. The lack of alternative solutions and the lack of support explains the slow implementation of this law. In view of this major challenge, our association, Zero Waste Senegal, is committed to fighting effectively against single-use plastic pollution, focusing on preventing action to curb the production curve of plastic waste. Our association encourages and supports individuals and structures to reduce their use of disposal products and to abandon single-use plastic. It is within this framework that we launch many projects to reduce single-use plastic and for a better waste management. Um, we have several projects, and right now we are running a project named My Zero Waste Restaurant. My Zero Waste Restaurant label was it's a project in order to reduce single-use plastic and promote alternative solutions. We have set up three labels to engage restaurants: the zero plastic straw label, the zero single-use plastic bottle label, and the zero coffee capsule label. Each label has sustainable solutions that we propose. For example, the zero straw label, we propose stainless steel or bamboo straws that can be reused. The zero plastic bottles label, we propose returnable water bottles and coffee beans with a machine to grind them instead of capsules. Today we have more than 54 restaurants involved in this project. Another thing, the our association sensitizes people. We organize every time a training session for the public to raise awareness and to support some organization or structures who want to make zero waste transition. So it's something really good, and it's a good opportunity for us, for our country, to promote sustainable solution and to reduce waste in our country. Thank you.
All right, so thank you to Momar for sharing his story. And like I said before, what a prime example that I think many of us can resonate with, of just how it just takes something small and gradual to really spark a passion for fighting the waste crisis and becoming a wastie, if you will. Momar is happy to be contacted via email if anyone has an interest in reaching out to him for further discussions or collaborations. We'll send around all the contact details along with the recording link as well after the presentation. Please, if there are any questions that you have for Momar, please don't be afraid to pop them in the chat. What I'll do is I'll send them to Momar and he'll answer them. And again, we'll send around. We've got lots of registrants from all over the world today that are sleeping and couldn't attend. So they'll be getting a list of all the answered questions as well. So amazing. On to our next presenter. Now, it's a great pleasure to introduce you to Lael Giebel. Lael has been in the sustainability space for over a decade and is currently the Director of Global Sustainability at a company called KnowBe4. And this is where she manages the organization's global sustainability program across 11 countries. Inspired by her lifelong passion for environmental conservation, she became a lead AP in 2009. And she received her MBA in sustainability in 2011. As a certified True Advisor, Lael is trained in zero waste management to help organizations meet waste goals and cut their carbon footprint. She's also a Green Globes professional and a certified climate change ambassador. She also holds certificates in executive women in leadership from Cornell University and diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace from the University of South Florida. She's interested in holistic approaches to sustainability that integrate environmentally friendly practices into all facets of life and livelihoods. She is also the author of Sustainability is for Everyone, Beginning Steps to Creating a Sustainability Program for Your Business. So Lael, I will hand it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And I do not have a slide deck to show, so it'll just be me speaking to you all. And I wanted to give you a perspective of where we're coming from, right? So KnowBe4 is a cybersecurity awareness training program or training platform, which means we have no physical product. So if you compare us to, say, manufacturer or retail, then we have relatively little waste. But that said, we do still have waste issues. And so tonight I'm going to talk about, or today, I'm sorry, it's nighttime where I am. I'm going to talk about our headquarters in Clearwater, Florida. I should say that we do have offices in 11 countries, including one in Melbourne. So, but I'm not going to be talking about how we run our zero waste in Australia or other places, because the US is really where we have our biggest challenges, I would say. So again, we're in Clearwater, Florida. and we're in the Tampa Bay area, where we do have commercial waste and recycling management, or resource management, as Don titled it. However, what they pick up is very limited. So they will pick up paper, cardboard, plastic bottles, and aluminum, and that's it. So no other types of plastic, no glass whatsoever, and definitely no compost. And in fact, there's no composting options in all of my region here in the Tampa Bay area, unfortunately. So as a result, we've actually gotten quite creative with how we manage our waste, or our resources again. So I'm going to give you just some examples of our creativity. Hopefully they'll inspire. I'm going to start with my very favorite. It's not the biggest one that we do, but it is probably my favorite. And that's what I call our banner bag program. So we're a cybersecurity awareness companies. So that means that we do trade shows, we do advertising, for different things. And so we sometimes have these really ginormous banners. And so whenever we use banners like that, I get them collected up afterwards, and I repurpose them into reusable bags for each of our employees. And so that alone has diverted nearly 500 pounds from the waste stream so far, and we continue doing it. So we'll just continue diverting that waste. The next one, in our headquarter offices in Clearwater, we have 9 break rooms. And when I started, we had disposable dishes in all of those break rooms. So we've converted all of that to reusable dishes. So no more disposable, which has definitely diverted a lot of waste, or reduced our waste, I should say. And along those same lines, we stopped printing paper almost completely. So we're completely digitized. I don't even think we've ordered paper in the last year or two. So that's a huge reduction in our waste. And then we created something that I call our employee courtesy recycling program. So in the Clearwater offices, we have one entire closet and also another cabinet dedicated towards this. And what we collect there is broken or used electronics, printer cartridges of any type, batteries of any type, so single-use, reusable, even those huge ones for appliances. We'll take all of those batteries, plastic bags, reusable bags, and office supplies. So that, again, is a huge diversion of resources going, and we get that going in the right direction rather than to our waste stream. And then we also created something that we just call the drop-in swap. It's a month-long program each year. So for the month of July, we set up tables, and we do this actually in all of our country offices, but I'm talking about the one in Clearwater right now. We set up tables in a public area, and employees throughout that entire month can drop off anything that they no longer use at home. It could be toys or books or clothing or kitchen supplies, whatever it is, anything that they no longer, it could be swag, like no before swag. If they no longer need it, then they come and drop it off there. And then at the same time, they or any other employees can go shopping in this whole world of reusable items. So just throughout the month, people drop stuff off, people pick stuff up. And at the very end of the month, if there's anything left over, then we take that and we donate it to a local women's center. And then similarly, at the end of every month, we have a catered meal for all of our employees who are in the offices. And so at the end of that meal, any food that's untouched we package that back up and we take it over to a local homeless shelter. And that's usually to the tune of about 100 pounds of food. So just in one meal alone, we're diverting 100 pounds of food from the waste stream by handing it over to somebody who can actually make use of it. And then we also created a grassroots composting program, because I mentioned that we don't have composting available here in Clearwater or even in the region. So we have several employees in the offices who do have composting at home. And we have those break rooms that I mentioned. We have free snacks every week, and oftentimes that will include veggies or fruits. And so at the end of the week, if there are any veggies or fruits that either weren't eaten or have gone a little bit too ripe or anything like that, then those employees who compost at home will just collect up those items and take them home with them. So rather than throwing those in the waste stream, those get composted at home. And then I would say we also use employee education as a tool. So we have a sustainability training program that every single employee goes through when they come on board at KnowBe4. We have watch parties, we have lunch and learns. I write a weekly blog called Green Tips that's just sort of talks about environmental and sustainability tips and tricks and hacks and that sort of thing. And then we also have a employee climate pledge that we created. And to date, about 97% of our employees have signed on to that pledge. And all of these things that we're doing through education raise awareness, but also raise their our employees' ability to kind of join along with us and dispose of or reduce waste, but also find put the resources in the right places, sort of like John said. So I was thinking about this. The main barriers for us obviously are service, the limitation of service, and then also scalability. So the service we have essentially solved by getting creative, like I mentioned just a moment ago. And then scalability, that's a big one for us because we continue to grow. And so we have to make sure that everything that we're doing is scalable. And everything that I mentioned so far is, so that all the employee courtesy recycling program that we do, all of that is scalable. The plastic bags, everything we do is scalable. The only thing we found that's difficult and we haven't been able to handle is the glass. So unfortunately, and much to my chagrin, the glass that people throw away at the offices is just going to the waste stream. It's just, we haven't found a way to make that scalable yet. So that's an unfortunate one for me. So I want to leave you all with advice. And I would say, get creative, like I mentioned, and then find your resources. So that's been a big one for us. For instance, when I was first wanting to convert those banners that I mentioned into reusable bags, I was working with I was talking to somebody, a resource in California, which is the opposite side of the country from Florida. And they were going to charge us something like $29 a bag, which is crazy, and it's completely unsustainable fiscally or otherwise. So we couldn't go with them, but rather than just giving up, I kept looking, and I actually found a local seamstress in Clearwater, so right around the corner from us. She's able to convert any one of these bags or repurpose them into any one of these banners, no matter the thickness or the material or anything like that. She's able to repurpose those into these banner bag or reusable bags. So we're diverting that from the waste stream. We're putting money into the local economy because she's right around the corner from us. And then we're also reducing future plastic use because now all of our employees have at least one, if not more, reusable bags from us. And so they don't need to collect those plastic bags from the grocery store. Another one is we found a local e-waste provider or collector that actually come to our offices to collect our e-waste for free. They pick it up and everything. And that's huge for us because when we recycle our e-waste, between our employees' e-waste and the companies, it's typically several hundred pounds. I think once it was 1,200 pounds. And so to have somebody come and pick that up for us for free is amazing. Another one is, I mentioned that we recycle plastic bags for our employees. So I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in Florida, many times there'll be grocery stores with these bins outside and they'll collect just those plastic bags that they give out at the store, but that's the only type of plastic that they will recycle. Next Treks, however, takes up to 16 different types of bags. And so they'll take bubble wrap and plastic wrapping around products and the plastic bags and, all sorts of things. So there's 16 different types of plastic. So that becomes meaningful and impactful. So that's what we're collecting from our employees, and we take it over to Next Treks. Again, it is scalable. There are two of us who collect it and take it over to Next Treks, and then they repurpose that into outdoor equipment like park benches and that sort of thing. So that was a nice find rather than just recycling the single type of plastic bag. And then I located a clothing manufacturer that will actually recycle reusable bags. They'll take reusable bags of any condition and they'll either recycle it or repurpose it or turn it over for somebody to create art. No matter what the condition is, there is a use for it that they can come up with. Trying to think. I guess the other thing I would say, again, is use your employees as a resource. So who knows, but you might have employees that compost at home like we do, or maybe you have employees that have a need for glass if you don't have a glass recycling system where you are. Whatever it is that you're looking to get rid of, check in with your employees. Or if maybe you're not at a company, maybe you're at a nonprofit or it's a neighborhood thing, check in with whoever your stakeholders are and see if they can be a benefit, see if there's any sort of mutual benefit that you guys can create together. So none of these things that I've mentioned before are typical, and they're not provided by our curbside recycling, as we call it here in the States. But through a lot of searching and a good amount of diligence, we did find what we were looking for. And so I would just encourage anybody on the call to do the same. Just keep digging, don't give up. And like I think it was John or whoever else it was that said that they'd be willing to take questions offline. I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody. You can find me through LinkedIn, and I know that Caitlin, you said that you would provide our information. So that is it for me. Just thank you again for letting me join you all tonight.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Leo. It was so engaging, and I am so impressed, as I'm sure our audience is, about the amount of initiatives that you've managed to implement in your local office at Clearwater. And it's just a great example of like a multinational corporate space implementing these things and sort of, you know, taking the initiative on their own rather than waiting for the supports to be there. It's just, yeah, I don't even know what to comment on first. I think when you said not ordering paper in 2 years in an office setting just kind of blew my mind a bit. And I absolutely love the idea of the drop-in swap. I get the sense that this idea is going to be borrowed by a few of our audience members. I could hear them almost taking notes all the way from here in Netherlands. So amazing. Thank you so much. All right, let's head on to our last panelist, but not least. So our last but not least presenter is Aman Karim from Pakistan, and he represents the National University of Medical Sciences in Pakistan, where he serves as an associate professor in the Department of Biological Sciences. Besides his teaching and research, he actively works on the environmental stewardship at the National University of Medical Sciences, otherwise known as NUMS. Notably, his university achieved the milestone of being the first university in Pakistan to adopt a zero-waste policy. So Aman and his university colleagues are now on a mission to partner with other academic institutions across Pakistan and extend the zero-waste practice beyond academia, reaching communities and contributing to the vision of a clean and a healthy nation. Aman is currently working as a visiting professor at Washington State University, but is due to return back to Pakistan mid this year. So with that being said, I will hand it over to you, Aman.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kathleen, for the nice introduction. And I am the least experienced person here when it comes to waste management. I'm overwhelmed by the two other panelists. So I hope my story is also very small, but I'll try to present it for the audience. Our story of zero waste started 4 years back with a presentation delivered by one of our colleagues, Dr. Adila Bashir. She is a medical educationist and a staunch zero waste enthusiast. So we call this lecture the first green talk of our university. And her presentation was all about problems of waste and her story, how she helped a community in a district, Gujranwala district of Pakistan, going door to door, raising awareness and even distributing cloth-made bags to people to reduce their waste. So soon after the lecture, we started volunteering for with her and tried to convince her that we should realize this dream at our university, which she was doing. And with this shared vision, we went to our university, and our university formally pledged to go the first zero-waste university of Pakistan. So before start of the project, we started some soul searching and to identify our motivations. As you know, Pakistan is one of the countries whose environment is at great risk due to huge number of waste. Like many other developing countries, we have also become a consumption-driven throwaway society. We unfortunately, knowingly, unknowingly contributing toward it, but we don't take responsibility for it. Similarly, we as universities also produce excess amount of different type of waste, and we are socially and environmentally accountable to be responding to toward the better management of waste. We also realize that just having the sustainable waste management at the campus is not enough. We are educationists, we have students, and we are quite aware community. So we can be agents of change for a wider society in sensitizing, educating, mobilizing individuals in communities for raising awareness for their civic responsibility and waste management. So we set and developed a comprehensive zero waste policy for our university, went to the university, got it approved, and then implemented in letter and spirit. To our surprise, just in 10 months of time, we were able to reduce 75% of our landfill waste, and now only 25% of the waste goes to landfill. This was a big boost for us to move ahead with the project. But this reduction of waste came after we had successfully, or somehow we managed to succeed in our challenges. The first two major challenges were the first, because the campus was working on a linear model, like it was generating waste and then sending it to dumping. So we had a major challenge of enabling that physical space to facilitate the transition to a zero waste system. The second major challenge was to bring a behavior change, and because this was the first concept of using a zero waste model to handle the waste, and it requires a lot of effort and shift of perspective from people's attitude, from going to just one bin and then every waste in it, to a lot of many things to do for the university community. So we enabled the physical space by first systematically auditing our facility. We identified potential changes, and then from one bin, we now choose to have 5 bins, which are different colors. We place them strategically at different positions, and then created a composting corner for the first time. We call it now a green corner. And then along with that, instructions and other materials were provided to the community. We now had a challenge to actually, after segregation of our waste, we had to link it somewhere to make it in a circular situation. So luckily, we found one of the factory. It's perhaps the first factory in Pakistan, Green Earth Recycle, who was graciously accepted our waste, our recyclable waste to their factory. So by linking our recyclables to the factory was a big shift to divert our 75% of our landfill to our recyclables. And to promote the behavior change, we, like any other scientific interventions, and zero waste interventions around the world, we also adopted a 5R principle. That was the reduce, reuse, recycle, rot, like composting, and then raising awareness. Because we live in a developing country, our forefathers were more aware than we are aware, so they were more sustainable somehow. So we raise awareness on reduce, reuse, recycle, and composting. So using different kind of awareness seminars and targeted workshops. So these are now a regular feature of our university for every intake, a new intake in the semester, or a new employee comes in. And we have, along with this, we have a research component. We continuously measure our waste daily. We track our records, and we also go to our community to continuously receive feedback from them. And we document it as part of our research. We are hoping to publish it sometime later this year. We came across some barriers which are worth sharing with you. Like we had this barrier, like a challenge, but then opportunity also for us to get it approved from the leadership. So for that, we actually went with this like sense of urgency to them, like it's a very burning issue. We try to convince our leadership, and then went to all other levels. So first we went to our deans. We had a talk with them, and then we took the conversation to the pro-vice chancellor and the vice chancellor. And after buying from them, we got a funding and administrative support from them. That was one of other help for us to transition to a zero waste campus. We needed actually now the human resource. For that, we solved it because we all volunteered for it. So our volunteers are now trained. Volunteers are now students. They are employees. They are our faculty. So we have a diverse mix of trained volunteers who work with us for reducing the waste, and also for the advocacy and campaign across the campus. We had a challenge of, because people have no awareness of waste in our country. So, and people are, it's difficult to motivate them. So along with using this seminar system and then the workshops, we more rely now on students, because students really like an environment, they working on the environment. And they do most of these motivation and awareness job for us, because they come up with innovative ideas, how to reduce waste, how to raise awareness, and how to keep the urgency also alive. So we had another challenge. We have a challenge of sustaining our efforts, because we need the support from our leadership and the campus community. How we handle this support is how we keep the momentum of that support is we try to achieve small successes along the way. That gives us, helps us to earn their trust and confidence. Likewise, we were able to declare our university as the first zero waste university in Pakistan. Our university leadership and community really take pride in that, and that keeps the dream alive for us. Also, last year we got recognized from Zero Waste International Alliance as one of their affiliate, and that's also the only one from Pakistan, which added credibility to our voice and to our effort also. So this was our story. It's a very small, we are a very young university, but we had some challenges. We tried to solve them. Our challenges then become our success steps to move forward. We now aim to spread it across Pakistan, all over the academia first, and then the academias can penetrate to the communities and spread this awareness regarding effective handling of zero waste using effective handling of waste using zero waste model. Our advice to anyone who starts to as a zero waste project is to their communities, to the institutions, schools. We advise to start from their own self. It's a process. You have to understand it. You have to audit yourself first, your home, so that you can completely practice it. And then because zero waste is a lifestyle, and from our experience, we came to the conclusion that it's more of role modeling. It cannot be forced on others, and it can only be achieved by inspiring people through our small actions and examples. And the bigger the cause we have, the more we need to volunteer for its success. So At the core of our effort is the spirit of volunteer. We believe greatly in the in this volunteerism in our pursuit to reduce waste. Thank you very much. I took more of your time, and thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aman. And what an incredible story to share. And proof of just how impactful sharing our stories can be. You know, your journey started with hearing about someone else's journey, which led to a staggering 75% reduction in waste at your university. So, you know, the power that is the power of storytelling. Now I realize that lunch hour is over for us joining in Australia, and I understand if you have to go. Do not fret. We'll leave the Q&A for that. Those will be just answered and distributed. So don't fret. Your questions will be answered. I do have someone who's popped their hand up, I think, or maybe they've put them down. Yeah, okay. I think maybe it was an accident. But yeah, what a fantastic set of presentations, and a big thank you to all of our presenters. I'm certainly feeling very inspired myself hearing everyone's stories of waste and being, you know, waste being tackled in all corners of the globe. Oh, sorry. Stop. So thank you. It's just a great reminder that, you know, waste knows no borders, and it's a struggle that everyone faces no matter where you come from. Let's see. So I'll leave it there. Like I said, your questions will be answered. I promise it'll be distributed. And if you have any burning questions or want to reach out to any of the presenters individually, please do that. But again, thank you all for the panelists and for everyone who came along today and or is now watching back the recording. If you do have a spare 2 minutes, I would be ever so grateful if you can complete the feedback survey for today's webinar. This is the first webinar presented by the Waste Not Spot, and we want to know if it was valuable to you and what topics you'd like to see in the future. And with that, I wish you all a lovely rest of the day in whatever part of the world you're joining in from. I think it's time for me to go off to bed now at 3 a.m. here in the Netherlands. So good night, and we'll see you next time.